Welcome back to the weekly news report. We're going to kick things off with the continuation of the partial government shutdown. The DHS, Department of Homeland Security, is still shut down. We're going to show both sides of the aisle and their points of view. And then from there, we're going to provide some commentary and decipher what both parties are saying.
Department of Homeland Security funding bill. It would reopen DHS and reopen and get our airports running again. And they did that for one reason, because they are trying to protect criminal illegal aliens. That's what this entire debate is about, and there's no way for them to hide from that. And they keep putting votes on the board. I've suggested, and I suggested yesterday in a press conference, we should probably take this vote tally, blow it up on a poster, and put it at every airport terminal around America. The Democrats just voted for the third time to make you stand in those long lines and to jeopardize our country. You think of what's at stake right now. We have noted that the Department of Homeland Security...
Be mindful. The Republican Party is basically laying the blame at the feet of the Democratic Party.
Is the third largest department of the federal government. We have 10 agencies in DHS. They happen to be all the agencies whose job it is to keep Americans safe. You're talking about FEMA. Do you know that our disaster relief funds are being depleted right now? You're talking about TSA. You're talking about the Coast Guard. They're not getting paychecks right now, and that's why we have all this calamity and all of this danger. So the question for the Democrats right now is, it's a serious question. How long is this going to go on?
I can't say that I haven't seen this much passion from Speaker Johnson in a while. Normally his persona is cool, calm, and collected, in my opinion. You know, he just kind of sit back, kind of chill, gets the job done. But he really seems annoyed in this clip.
Are we going to wait till somebody brings a firearm on a passenger airplane? Are we going to wait till we have a natural disaster?
As I mentioned, this is definitely a safety issue. And we'll get to it. We'll cook.
Not take care of. This is not a game, but these are not serious people. And they have demonstrated once again that they are putting the welfare of criminal illegal aliens above American citizens. We are mourning the death of Sheridan Gorman, a young college student from Chicago who was murdered by an illegal alien because of Democrat policies. Joe Biden had the border wide open. The Democrats had, in the White House in the last administration, left the border wide open. They apprehended this guy, the murderer, and they let him go. And then he went to Chicago. Why there? Because that's a sanctuary city. They arrested him there for another crime, and they put him out on the street.
So in the bill, the Republican stance is that the Democrats are trying to repeal some of the border tactics or border responsibilities. I haven't read the bill. Probably behoove me to do so. But from the Republican standpoint, that is the issue right now with the proposal.
And he shot a young American citizen, a college student, in the head from the back. This is what's happening in America because these people are putting the welfare of criminal illegal aliens over Americans. This is a vote tally. I just wanted to bring a little visual aid. We just print these out after the votes. This is the resolution right before the funding bill. The resolution was to, quote, express the support of the House of Representatives for the Department of Homeland Security. Here's your vote tally, okay? Every Republican obviously voted yes. Democrats, 187 Democrats voted against a resolution to support the Department of Homeland Security.
Okay. From Speaker Johnson's mouth, every Republican voted for the bill, and apparently over 100 Democrats voted nay. So let's keep going.
Here's a real profile in courage. 13 of them voted present. They don't have the guts to tell you what they stand for. This upcoming election, again, is a contrast for America. It's a contrast between common sense and crazy. And the Democrats are making crazy policy decisions right now, and it is hurting real Americans, and we've had enough of it. I'll take a couple questions.
Mr. Speaker, Senate Majority Leader John Thune.
You're definitely playing games on both sides. We'll hear Speaker Johnson out a little more, and then we'll get to what the other side of the aisle is, their version.
What he called the last and final offer to Democrats. It would fund DHS except for enforcement and removal operations for ICE. If the Senate is able to pass that, can you get it through the House?
It's a really good question, because we have now, again, for the third time, we just funded the entire Department of Homeland Security. I understand what the Senate's doing. John Thune, Leader Thune, is in a terrible situation because he has Chuck Schumer and the Democrats over there refusing to take care of business and do their job. If they break away that subset, I suppose we'd have to fund it through reconciliation and find some other means. But it's a shame that only one party on Capitol Hill is willing to fund all of the security.
I can't say that this administration, from reporting and personal experience, they have been crafty at trying to make sure the American people receive compensation where there has been fall throughs. I can't say that. I can vouch for that.
Safety of the American people. We cannot believe it's come to that, but it has.
If the Senate gets that through the Senate, will you put it on the floor?
We'll have to see. We have to solve the problem, and it's very sad that Democrats are not interested in doing that. Yes.
Does that mean that you're not in favor of breaking the DHS funding bill apart, just funding TSA, just funding FEMA, having individual votes on each sector?
We have never been in favor of breaking the bill up. Why? Because it's one of the 12 separate appropriations bills that is the most basic function of Congress to fund the government. And we did it in a bipartisan, bicameral manner.
The American people aren't aware, maybe, that this is very important legislation. When it comes to these funding bills, it's not only just those interested parties' paychecks, it's infrastructure, it's the whole kit and caboodle, it's operations. All of that plays a part in the funding of these agencies. Paychecks are important. Paychecks are great for the people who are doing the work, but it's more at hand than just members' paycheck. That's why this is deeply serious, and it's a safety issue.
Remember, the contents of that bill were decided upon earlier by Democrats until they decided to hold the American people hostage in their long lines at the airports and with the safety of everybody on the line to make a political point. It is shameful. There is no way for them to defend this to the American people, and breaking it out I think it puts an exclamation point on what they've tried to do here. It's shameful. So we'll
definitely leave that there. Again, we call it games that they play, but I know both sides are trying to be strategic. You know, both parties are trying to get what they deem correct and what they want. So it's all about compromise, though, you know. That's where we elect officials to, when we say do their job, basically we're meaning do what's in the interest of the American people and reach compromise for the greater good. That's the expectation. So that was one side of the story. We're going to get to another side here in just a bit, and then this is what I call a curtain. So that's why I like platforms like this, because we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Let's hear the other side, and then we'll cook from there. So now we're going to hear from MS Now, Joe Scarborough and company, and let's get their take on the situation, and then we'll go from there.
I want to ask you, Jonathan Lemire, because we're focusing right now on Iran for a very good reason. Americans are not. They're against it by overwhelming numbers. But I will tell you, I went to LaGuardia yesterday, 3-hour wait line.
Notice he's back.
Flights canceled.
He got kicked off his plane.
It was absolute chaos. Flights being canceled nonstop. And I just sat there thinking, you know, well, a couple things. First of all, we're all talking about Iran. But these people that are waiting 3 hours in line in all these airports in Washington, it's 4 hours in line.
That's Houston.
That's Houston, 4-hour wait lines. You know, they're not thinking about Iran. They're thinking about the fact that they work. And they've got to fly to and from their homes and commute. There's so many people there that are commuting every day.
I have a friend at Newark. It's a mess. It's a complete mess, and TSA.
We got Easter right around the corner. Maybe not the busiest travel day, but definitely a busy one.
Is a mess as well.
Yeah,
regular TSA, 3 hours.
3-hour wait lines. And I would just say to Republicans,
3-hour wait lines is horrible. I don't even like the 2-hour getting to the airport earlier. So this is a nightmare.
This is on you. If you think that you can, like, blame Democrats, everybody's saying
You're in charge.
You're in charge of Washington. And
We just heard, pay attention, we just heard the comments from Speaker Johnson. So let's continue.
I can't say it completely. I will just say that I heard somebody yell in line yesterday, they want to run Iran, and they can't even run their own effing airports. And that, really I sat there thinking,
spicy.
Oh my gosh, that is what everybody in this 3-hour line at LaGuardia is. And what happens is they wait in line, they get on the planes, and then the pilots say, flight's canceled. I checked 3, 4.
Yeah, that's the worst when you start getting those alerts, those text messages. Flight's delayed. That's how they like to string you along. They say, flight's delayed. Then an hour later, flight's delayed. Then, you just can feel it. Yeah, this flight's going to be canceled. So you better either try to get another plane or try to book something for the fastest thing out of there, basically.
Flights canceled yesterday out of LaGuardia. It's happening at airports all over the place. It's chaos. And so it's weird. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we need to cover Iran. But I'm just telling you, people who vote, they're looking at gas prices and they're looking at the airport, and they're not too dumb to understand on social media that Republicans, once again, had a chance to vote for TSA funding, and they voted it down. Let me say that again. Republicans now, 10 times, all they had to do is say yes, and TSA funding.
He said Republicans had the opportunity and they voted it down, contrary to what Speaker Johnson just said.
They won't do it.
Yeah, the people are angry. We're seeing right now, it's people who are using air commute for work. It is the spring sports season for so many parents with kids have tournaments. Yeah. Spring break is on the horizon.
Easter's coming up.
Easter and Passover are next week.
Do you know what I'm trying to figure out? How to get all my family together.
It's not going to be possible.
And because I've got adult children, as everybody with adult children know, we've been planning this like a Phil Marshall Montgomery for months now. People getting off of work, figuring out how to get the babies, all of that. And I had to...
Definitely looking forward to Passover. That's a whole nother story. Let's continue.
Yesterday, and I was in the airport, and I don't know if we're going to be able to get together for Easter, because all these flights are getting canceled and it's chaos. I didn't say because Republicans keep refusing to pay TSA, but Republicans keep refusing to pay TSA.
You heard the words from Joe's mouth. Do I need to rewind it? I don't think I do. Quote, Republicans, I forget what he said verbatim, but he's basically saying the Republicans are the ones who's holding up the bill.
It's expensive. People are furious, and rightly so. Airports across the country, 3-4 hours. There was a photo in Houston yesterday, former Attorney General Bill Barr standing in line for 3 hours waiting to get in the line. It's affecting everybody, and I think this is the last week or so, this has become the dominant story in the country line, even more than the war. And I think in the last few days...
Speaking of Bill Barr, it said Delta revoked the congressman's, basically they're like, their not entitlement, but their it's just the advantage they had of just walking straight up through the line. It just wasn't a good look. So that's in the news as well.
Really broken through that this is...
Delta revoked their privilege, basically. That's one of their privileges.
Have had chances to put the funding through, and they haven't. And even this week, the Senate Republicans, John Thune said, let's get this done, and it's President Trump who said no.
Do you know how many times President Trump has flown, gone into...
He just said viciously, well, I don't know, viciously might be a strong word, but adamantly, it was President Trump who didn't get it done. So a lot of name calling and I just call it finger pointing.
An airport and flown a commercial flight in the last 30 years?
Zero.
Never. Do you know Howard Lutnick? Do you know how many times Howard Lutnick has flown? Do you know how many times the billionaires that are in the cabinet are people that would be talking to Donald Trump? Do you know how many times they've actually had to get in an airport and wait 3 hours a night?
How about pump gas? How about pump gas for their own car?
Go to a grocery store.
Or go to a commercial flight and fly somewhere. I'm sorry. I think it's safe to say our commander-in-chief has probably never done
This
that?
is a nightmare. I mean, this is a nightmare for mainly for TSA agents. And I will say I've flown Richard 3-4 times over the past 3 or 4 days, 4 or 5 days. And that
I can't say to add on. Patrons are the majority. They may have a horror story, but they are getting to where they need to go. I'm hearing of folks catching a flight and leaving the same day. It's just more wait times and probably just not the most convenient experience as compared to when everything's running smoothly.
TSA agent. And I just want to say this about the men and women that are there working
safe
when some of their coworkers are not. Every one of them, I say thank you so much. I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you. I know this is hard.
Yeah, let's start doing that. This is a reminder that TSA employees, they may not be your favorite people on earth, but hey, it's an important gig, and hopefully they'll get more admiration. Even Tyler Perry, we're just breaking news. TSA agents couldn't accept funding. They couldn't accept just cash payouts. So Tyler Perry in Atlanta, I know he went and handed out gift cards, which was very admirable.
And every one of them are so polite. Every one of them say, thank you so much. Just like, thank you, we appreciate it. They'd love to say, thank you, we appreciate it now, get us paid. But they've been so professional and so, but I'm telling you, there were thousands of people in line, and I saw 4 TSA agents. And in a time of increased terror threats, with Iran saying they're going to strike.
Thank goodness we haven't had reports of that. I mean, thank goodness, because that would have been catastrophic. Reports of any terrorism attacks or any kind of contraband or anything like that. That's no bueno at this time.
Against American targets globally, with the FBI a couple of months ago firing the people who knew the most about terror threats from Iran for whatever stupid reason that was. We are letting down our defenses at a time we should have double TSA agents, because Iran has been warning us for a decade that if we ever attack them, they would strike out against us domestically. They would start blowing things up in America. And what are Republicans doing right now? They're voting no to paying TSA agents. They're voting no to pay TSA agents. Let me say it 10 times. Democrats keep bringing it to the bill to get rid of this problem. And Republicans keep making this problem worse at the very time we need more TSA agents and not less.
So if I may.
Can everybody see how both parties are framing it? We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Well, I don't want to. Basically, they're framing it. That may have been, and again, obviously I'm not there, but from what I deduce is Mr. Scarborough, he just mentioned that Democrats, they proposed the bill X amount of times, but that might not be a full truth, because yes, they may have issued out the bill numerous times, but what was inside of that, like them breaking up these agencies individually, he's not mentioning that, and that very well could be the case why the Republicans are not on board with the bill. So it's kind of like a half true. It's true, but it's without context.
Who's going to Richard?
I know. Before you speak, Richard, I have a friend at Newark Airport. 3 TSA agents for an entire terminal, and people are furious, and that's repeating across 3.
And that's vice versa for the Republican Party. They're saying, look, every Republican signed this bill. Every Republican voted yes, 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 yes. Well, obviously, that's true. However, the Democrats didn't like what was in their version of the bill. So that's why you need platforms like this, on YouTube and abroad, because we don't have as much skin in the game as they do in regards to, we feel most of the effects from it, but we don't have the skin in the game as far as what they're trying to accomplish for their lobbyists or their constituents, probably most of their lobbyists. So we can give it to you how we see it and hopefully you share the same vision on that. You know, I don't work for either one of these folks, so I can decipher, and you know, just based on other reporting and keeping an ear to the street on what's going on. You know, everything I'm saying is it's not restricted by any. I don't have a boss telling me, hey, you need to say these talking points. So support platforms like this. We're just getting started, and we're going to try to give you the news as real as possible.
Yeah, I flew in and out of Houston this week, which was an experience.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. Look, the TSA agents were incredibly gracious. I actually I was
so nice.
I was the clutch travel. I lost an AirPod, and my suitcase open. I had to open it up to get some stuff out, the electronics. I forgot to close it. It all dumped on the floor. Several TSA.
Okay, yeah, we're definitely gonna leave that there. Good story. But again, that was my point. We just showed you both sides of the coin and how both are flipping it. At the end of the day, people like me, hopefully people like you, we want to see results. You know, we want to see what's the best for the greater good. That's the side of the aisle I'm on. So we're going to monitor the situation. Again, the government is still partially shut down, and they didn't make it happen prior to the 2-week break or recess, as they call it, for Easter, Passover for myself. So it's going to be 2 more weeks of this. So we'll monitor the situation and report back as appropriate.